Pod. Hello and welcome to the Eagles Wing podcast. I am your host, Deuce Brandt. Today I have a very special podcast that I want to do. Last week we started the Financial Peace University using Dave Ramsey's FPU system, and I want to do a recap of that lesson and talk about something that's super important, a very useful tool that you have in your financial tool belt, and that is the budget. But first, let me introduce Tony B to everybody.
Hello, thank you for having me, Deuce.
You're very welcome, and thank you for joining me because again, this is something that having a back and forth and a conversation about things I think is helpful, and it will also help me if I go off trail or if I'm not clear on a concept that you can kind of reel me in. And so, what I want to say is Tony's been on several podcasts with me. He is a very good friend. He is incredibly intelligent and skillful and has an abundance of skills, not only in business, but in his spiritual walk, in his missionary work, in his life experience. He is a man who has traveled the world, who has helped multiple businesses, and I believe he has an insight and a wisdom into the future trends and the things that are going to help all of us improve, especially in terms of our finances. So, welcome, Tony.
Thank you.
All right. So just to do a recap of the first week's lesson in Financial Peace University, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen. All right, excellent. So what we have here is we have an introduction to the seven baby steps. Is it coming up on on
hmm
the screen? Okay, excellent. Give me 1 second. My um, I cannot see myself, and usually I like to see that. So give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, excellent. So the seven baby steps for Financial Peace University uh, are these, and they do go in order. So you do start with the first baby step, which is to save $1,000 in your emergency fund. This is a starter emergency fund. Basically, it's to cover anything that kind of happens that can easily trip us up, like the alternator in your car goes out, or you have you have a medical visit and you have to pay a deductible on insurance, or something comes up and a family member calls and has some kind of emergency. Usually $1,000 gives you enough buffer to where you don't have to go into a credit card or go into debt to take care of it. Now, the emergency fund is not for emergency fun, is something that they like to say. And I think that's a funny comment. Baby step number two is where you list all of your debts, everything except for your mortgage, and you pay off all the debt using the debt snowball. Step three is save 3 to 6 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. So think about this as life insurance in the case of, you lose your job, you get sick and you can't work, um, some kind of COVID situation, something like that, to where your income source goes away temporarily. If you've got 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up, it's less of an emergency and it gives you time to line up your next opportunity or to get well. Baby step number four is to invest 15% of your household income in retirement. Listen, everybody, retirement's coming. We're all getting older every day, and if you don't plan for this, it's going to sneak up on you, and the government is not going to take care of you. Social Security is not going to give you the kind of lifestyle that you're used to or that many people can afford. So you definitely want to start investing in your household income at this point. And step five is save for your children's college fund. As parents, one of the greatest things that we can do is not put our children into student aid debt, student loans, as they come out of adulthood. This is one of the best ways that you can help your children. And in that lesson, when we get to step five, we're going to talk about alternatives to the classical university system and other options like trade schools, and how there are other ways than college to set your children up for their future. Step six is paying off your home early. So this is, paying off your mortgage and becoming fully debt free. Now, if you don't have a mortgage by this point, you may be thinking, "Hey, I want to buy a home." This would be a great time to, save up for your down payment and buy your home. There's also an option that a lot of people have done is instead of putting a 20% down payment and then mortgaging the rest of the mortgage, the rest of the home, they've done the 100% down method and they have bought their home outright. And that is another option. Baby step number seven, which is, I think, the by far the greatest baby step there is, and this is building wealth and giving. This At this point, you should have absolutely no debt. You should owe nobody anything. You should have money saved in the bank. You should have investments in retirement. Your home is paid off. Your kids are, they're adults. They're out of the house. They've gone through college or trade school. They're successful in their own lives. And you're able to build wealth and give outrageously. And so at this point, I want everybody to imagine the opportunity to give more than you've ever given before, whatever cause is important to you, be it your church, social group, um, you know, the animal shelter, starving children in another country, widows and orphans, missions, even just, hey, there's a single mother whose car broke down in the parking lot. I'm going to give that single mother a fully paid for car. That would be an outrageous or a giving that is incredible. And so I just want to kind of put that on. Now, I'm here in the ramseysolutions.com website, seeing the baby steps. There's a little quiz that you can take that can figure out what baby step you're in. And just going through this will help you identify. I'm not going to do that, but that's for everyone to kind of figure out. And then this is going to give you more information on all the different areas as well as additional articles. So the baby steps are the proven system for getting out of debt and producing financial peace. And this is a peace where you don't have to worry about bill collectors calling you. You don't have to worry about, hey, I'm in this terrible job and I have to do it because I got to have health insurance, or if I'm one paycheck away from losing everything. Well, if you've got margin and you've got ability, that opens up options for you, and that really produces a tremendous amount of peace. So, with that, I want to get into The first area of topic and the number one tool in your disposal for accomplishing all of the baby steps, and honestly, the best financial move you can make for your future, and that is the budget. Now, now, Tony, when I say write a budget, what are your initial thoughts on how do you feel about that when I use those words? Hey, Tony, I want you to write out a written budget.
Um, it's a lot harder. It sounds easy until you start sitting down and going through everything because there's always going to be little expenses that pop up, like you said, needing emergency funds or other things, but at least the reoccurring things that okay, because I don't know how much I spend on food really, but there's a lot better apps that are available now, right? Where they will go into they'll connect to your bank account, they'll code everything in there and say, okay, here's approximately how much you spend on food, how much you spend on this, or if you're using a certain banking app, it may already embed that within it based off the codes. Obviously, it's not perfect, right? But I think the biggest thing is just getting a general ballpark. And then, you can have a two budget approach. What are your current expenses? What are you doing now? And then maybe what are your goals? Where do you want things to be, right? I think people don't think about that as well as like how important goal setting is and to have a marker that you're aiming for as well. So, somebody told me that as well. It's like, hey, have your current budget and then where you want to be. What are some of your goals? How much do you want to be spending? Because like for me currently, I don't have a mortgage or, certain things. I don't have children, but that doesn't mean eventually that I won't have these expenses, right? And so then, having an ideal view in the future on something, of course, that's just you never know where that's going to go, but at least it's something you're striving for and looking to do and say, oh, actually, I need to be making at least this much if I want to, have children and start doing these things. And I think that's just smarter planning for your future. Because definitely, a lot of these people don't teach these concepts. Nobody taught my parents these things, right? Learned this, a lot later in life. But, it's very powerful because you can truly see, okay, and AI does now help with a lot of these things, right? You can say, here's my budget. Here's some goals I have. I want to have a child. Can you maybe give me some expenses on like how much the diapers and other little things that you need, and it can give you a rough estimate and help you even make those goals more realistic based off of real numbers. And because if that's one thing AI is good at, it's math and crunching numbers because that's what it is. It's made up of. Did you get all that?
Yes, the last part you said it was math and numbers, and then you cut off for just a second.
No, sorry. Yeah, I was like that's pretty much what AI is. It's made up of running, computations, running numbers, running, probabilities. So that's one thing it's really good at. It's helping you probably come up with a good budget and realistic outcomes.
Yes, and I agree. And those are all very valid points. And what's amazing is, like you talked about with these apps, there are tools that are available that make our lives easier. And the things of the past that it was difficult, it is much, much easier. But just like anything, you have to be mindful and you have to put it in motion. You can't just AI is great, but essentially it's just a giant paperweight until you activate it and use it. Put in a prompt or get the service, whatever that might be. Now, a couple things about a budget, and a budget is simply a plan for your money. And the Ramsey methodology is what's called a zero-based budget. And zero-based budget means that your income minus your expenses equals zero. That doesn't mean that you're intentionally trying to just spend everything every month. It's having a plan, and it's taking all of your money and spending it on paper on purpose before the month begins. Or if you are in an entrepreneurial, or if you are in like a sales or commission based income, you can also use a zero based budget. You just have the irregularity income. You plan, and then as the income comes in, you've already got an idea of where you're going to spend it. So, and we can definitely talk about that, because I know Tony, you, myself, being in business, a lot of times it's like I don't have a weekly paycheck. I don't have even a regular paycheck. It's I go out, I find the deal, I get the contract signed, I might get a deposit, and then when the project is done, or if I hit a milestone, then I get an additional payment. Well, that's very in my experience has been feast or famine. I don't know if you've ever experienced the feast or famine, but without a plan, when it's feast time, you don't want to spend all your money and go, "Oh man, I just got this big payday. Let me go buy that big screen TV." Or let me, you know what? Hey, I just got paid. Let me take the boys to the steakhouse, right? And that's something that we can plan for and we can think about into the future, because sometimes I don't know if you're any way like this like me. Um, it's nice after a deposit hits the account, you know. But it's not nice living off top ramen and trying to figure out how you're going to pay your phone bill.
Yes, sir. Definitely been there. I totally, like you said, as a business owner, you do your best to try to retain residuals, right? I think it's the biggest thing is, like you said, is there's no guarantee, but as much as you can try to make there be guarantees in your payments and what you're building and how you're helping service and add value to individuals. It's totally good. Like we were just talking, Deuce, like previously before this contract that I just recently landed, which is amazing, that'll easily be able to sustain me for the next 3 to 4 months. Um, Before that, I am scrambling, scraping, trying to, just seeing my savings slowly dwindle down, right? And so, of course, this contract I think can help me beyond just 3, 4 months, right? It's just the initial phase of what I'm getting paid now, and then, being smart and saying, okay, and now I have some money, I'm not scraping anymore. How can I be smart? Where can I put this money to go to work for me? Right? Maybe there's some things we can touch on later, but I quite frequently when I do have extra disposable income, besides, first thing giving, back to communities or nonprofits that mean a lot to me, is investing it, right? Is investing and seeing my money go to work. There's a lot of things I can talk about later because, I buy stocks or I look at certain, funds that I can put into and not have to think about it, right? Like, so there's things, we can touch on a little bit more, but, for me at least, like that's another big, wherewithal is okay. I constantly put money into a life insurance cash value policy, to where, hey, I'm never probably going to touch this money for at least 10 to 15 years. I understand that. But the goal is to become my own bank, right? To, hey, I have, $100,000 sitting here. Instead of going to the bank, it sits in this account and then I can start to, take withdrawals from that and pay myself back as the loan, right? And not have to, be living off credit cards or going more into debt, borrowing money, which, I've done all of those things, right? As I'm sure many people have as well. But it's when you start to get back on track, it's okay, I have a bit of a war chest. How can I be smart with this? Because that money's gonna get spent, right? Regardless. It's what you're spending it on and how you're strategically utilizing those funds to have the rainy day checks and certain other things that can help you because, that's one good thing, right? Is I never have to worry about truly if I really go into the red and I really need some money, I just go sell some stocks that I have or, certain things where my money's been in the market. It's not ideal, right? But it's of course it's I know at least for me, my absolute if everything gets bad, my account goes negative, I can't pay for anything, which has all happened to me before. I'll go in, I'll sell some stocks and then okay, hey, I'm good for another couple weeks or however long, depending on what I needed. And so, I think that that's helped me because like I said, that money's gonna get spent. So at least if you're putting it somewhere where you're never gonna look at it or touch it, you only go for emergencies. And I'm sure a lot of people, if they're working, they'll have a 401k or something similar, right? And so you can, look into, absolutely on like a complete emergency basis, like somebody goes to the hospital or you're looking to move somewhere and you need like, because I know like my dad just recently moved and you need, the deposit, you need a couple months of rent. And so like that's a lot of money, right? And a lot of people don't have, $4,000 or $5,000 just sitting there in account that they can just pull from, right? And so, look at ways where you can be smart and allow your money to grow for you in those times so that when you have that ability and those accounts to bank on and go back to if you need them.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you've said. And here's where, the planning and thinking about the future, the reality is this: as humans, we're gonna run into trials and tribulations, we're gonna run into challenges. Um, the rainy day is coming. It is going to rain. The question becomes, are you prepared? Do you have an umbrella? Or when it starts raining, are you going to scramble? The budget really can help you produce those things. And then as we progress through the baby steps, it's absolutely what you talked about, but this idea of having 3 to 6 months of your expenses in the bank, I think psychologically can free us up to take, more calculated risks, to do more, to maybe, make that move or take that job or, have the freedom to do the thing that we're led to do. I like to think about it like this in the spiritual aspect. I've had a lot of conversations with people that basically go something like this. Oh, I believe God has called me to do this thing, go to Mexico and build houses in a village. Then they say, but I don't have the money and I can't take off of work because if I don't go to work, everything falls apart. And it's sad to me because the debts and the lifestyle that we have has enslaved us, and it doesn't allow us to do the things that we want. Or if you're a faith-based person, and Tony, I know you had an opportunity to go on missions and to go and see the world, and that to me is one of the great blessings and one of the most powerful things, being a single person, that you can do before you get married and have children. But it's only possible if you have good planning. And if finances were not an issue, how many more people would do, the Lord's work?
Hmm.
Just a thought that I have. So getting in.
Sorry, I want to,
No, no,
one thing I
go
want to
ahead.
touch on.
Yes.
Because I was looking at my phone, I was doing the math for this. So another really cool concept, because it says on here, pay off your home early. A lot of people don't even know if you literally just added one more payment into the year. So if you did instead of 12 payments, you did 13, right? You would be able to pay off your house 4 to 5 years early, right? And especially now with how crazy interest rates are, that's why I had AI help me do the math. So we'll do like a $400,000 home, right? Because I know it's probably at least where we live, it's a lot harder to find. I'm sure you can get something less, but it's probably a little, I'd say, average right now. Obviously, it's going to go up, so keep that in mind. And interest rates are crazy, right? A lot of people they don't want to buy because of the interest rates. But if you're doing an extra payment every single month or every year, you're able to make sure that you're for a $400,000 house, you're saving 70 to $80,000 in interest over the life of the loan, right? And that's something so simple as, okay, making an extra $2,000 payment in the year, right? Or whatever your mortgage is. And so, a lot of people could just be like, oh, I want to go on vacation, I want to spend that. You can with the 70, $80,000 you're saving, right? You can go on a all expended cruise, and travel the world and do all kinds of good stuff. And just, I think it's a lot of it's priorities, right? And people wanting to, hey, let me go out less this month, right? Let me go shopping. Let me, look for certain coupons that will help with the shopping expenses, always looking for any deals or anything where you can find because these things do add up over time to where you're able to then be more lavish in your vacations and take, because I'm the same way, right? I don't want to save all this money to not enjoy it, right? And be 80 years old and then be like, oh, now I can, I get that, right? People want to be able to enjoy the money that they have now. And so, certain things like that where it seems so small, but how much this adds up to over time is immeasurable, really. I mean, obviously it's measurable. I gave you 70, $80,000 on a $400,000 6% interest loan. But, obviously these are numbers you can play with and test out and see for yourself. So sorry for interrupting, but
No, no, the thing about finances is it's black and white and it's on paper. I mean, it's mathematical formulas. And the beauty of following the Financial Peace University or the Seven Baby Steps plan is you may get to this point when you're paying off your home early, and because you have no other debt and you've got your basic your basic expenses, those things that always are going to be there: electricity, phone bill, car insurance, those kind of things that are essentials. You're gonna have a a good portion, and I would think that 50% of your income is going to be left over. And so if your goal is to pay off your home, and if you follow the Ramsey system, they say, only get a 10-year fixed mortgage. And so if you've got a 10-year mortgage and it is less than 25% with, your mortgage, your insurance, your taxes, your, all those home related um expenses are less than 20 or 25% of your income or less. If you keep those numbers and you have 50% of your income left over, you could knock out your mortgage in 6 years, 5 years. Or over time, as you get better in your career and gain more skills, you're going to earn more income. The thing about it is, if you've got a step-by-step goal, you can knock out these baby steps, because it's like you said, once you get to step 7, you can travel the world. You can enjoy your children and your grandchildren, possibly your great-grandchildren. I think about it like this is, how cool would it be to be able to not only take my family on vacation, but then to go to my mother and possibly my brothers or my wife's family and go, hey, we're all going to go to Disney World. And I'm going to pay for everything. I'm going to pay for the hotel and pay for the tickets and pay for the food and pay. You know what? Let's all just go. That could be a $70,000 experience. But if you're in baby step 7 and you are a baby steps millionaire, meaning you have over $1 million in assets that are in your name and you have zero liabilities, well, at that point, a $70,000 vacation really is possible. But I have to press forward so I get into a couple more because we could talk about this and we're going to go into all of these as the 9 weeks for the Financial Peace University, but I want to kind of stick to this first baby step, step number one. But I want to bring up Hebrews 12:11 in the NIV says, "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those that have been trained in it." This is basically saying that I'm going to sacrifice my current day, my current me, for my future me. And the reality is a lot of us are in a bad situation today because of the choices of past me 5, 10, 15 years ago. Imagine if the you from yesterday made better choices, how much better would the you of today be? So that's all well and good. And a lot of people might say, well, Deuce, that's fine to say, but my life, I'm in a mess right now. I'm in debt. I've made stupid decisions. I've fallen into these traps. I say, what's the best time to plant an apple tree because I'm hungry. I want apples. Well, it was 20 years ago. But if you didn't plant 20 years ago, what's the second best time? Today. So we can start today. We can repent. We can come to God and say, God, I have failed you. I have failed me. I have sinned in the area of finances and I have not followed what your word has said. Please forgive me and help me, give me wisdom, strength, knowledge, and understanding so I can do better in the future and have faith and belief that God is going to help restore you. This is this is as much of an important issue, finances, as any other area of our lives. And any other area, if I can go to God for any of my other sins, I should be able to go to my heavenly Father, sit on his lap and say, Daddy, I messed up. Please forgive me and help me, give me wisdom, and believe that he is faithful to do so. So I want to just put that out there. Next, there is two different types of people. And what those two different types of people are nerds and free spirits. And basically, what this means, and this is an article on nerds and free spirits can unite over the budget. And Tony, I forgot to ask, is this showing my screen with the Chrome browser?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure it's not my other screen with the timer and all because I have been wrong on Zoom before. Okay, good. So basically, the nerd is a person who enjoys numbers, who's very logical, is very analytical, mathematical. These are the people that love spreadsheets and, the nerd loves planning. On the other side, you have the free spirit. The free spirit is a person that is mainly fueled by emotions, on experiences, on let's just go with the flow and whatever happens, happens. And so usually when people get married, a nerd marries a free spirit because they balance each other out. Now, this article talks about the different nerds, the difference between the nerds and the free spirits. And I want to encourage everyone to review it. As you can see, it is a very, very short article. But here's the thing. If you know what you're good at, you can use it to your strength. So in terms of the budget, have the nerd produce and create the budget. Then you do what's called a budget committee meeting where the two of you come together and you review the next month's budget. And here's the thing, the free spirit, here's the rules. The free spirit has to show up for the meeting, right? And has to change something in the budget. So it's not just the nerd spends all this time, creates the budget, does all the work, collects all the data, and then goes, I've brought the tablets, like Moses coming down from the mountain. I have the budget. And the free spirit goes, okay, honey, that's great. Do it. The rule is the nerd creates the budget. The free spirit has to go to the meeting, review the budget, and then make changes. Now, what if you're a single person, kind of like you, Tony? You're a single man. You're not married. You don't have any kids. You're responsible for all of it yourself. So the challenge in this is you also have to figure out kind of what are you, if you're more of a nerd or if you're more of a free spirit. I personally, Tony, from knowing you, I think you're more of a nerd only because of how logical and analytical and kind of your work with AI and your work in business. That's very nerdish. And I think that's a great thing. But we also need the other side. So for your side, as a single man, or even any other single person listening, you can balance this out by finding somebody that you trust, that has what you want and who can mentor you, and asking them to hold you accountable, to review your information. And it's basically it's biblical that we have people in our lives that can help disciple us. Now, one thing I am going to plug for the Eagles Wing Academy, I have completed Dave Ramsey's financial coaching course, and I am also a preferred Ramsey coach. So I teach these things, and I'm able to help you come alongside, create your budget, create a plan, and then hold you accountable on a session by session basis. And sometimes all we need is for somebody else to bounce the ideas off of. And here's the thing, a coach is not somebody who cracks the whip and makes you do anything. My job as a coach is to help you achieve your goal. My job is to ask you good questions, to get you to think, to find out what it is that you want, and then help you develop a plan to get it. And then the accountability is simply, hey, Tony, last month you told me that you wanted to do X, Y, and Z. How's that going? And you might say, well, Deuce, I did X and Y, I killed it, but Z, I failed. I didn't get it done. I slipped back. I used my Visa. I bought a TV. I bought a couch. I bought whatever. And it's not me going, oh, wagging my finger and making you feel bad. No, my job is to help encourage you and help guide you and push you towards your goal. And so in that environment, I think that we can grow. And once trust and accountability is created, I think it becomes easier to be honest and open. So I don't know about you, Tony, but in my Christian experience, anytime, they've said from the stage, "Oh, we're going to have accountability partners." You ever hear about that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. A lot of it can just be your significant other, right? Whoever you're in a relationship with, married to, I know it could even be your parents, right? Whoever, just somebody, it doesn't have to be necessarily like a coach in a sense. Because we're not always going to see eye to eye with everything and every way to pay for it. I know, like for me, I love the Dave Ramsey method, but I'm a little bit different. I don't mind using a credit card to pay for things if I know, first off, that I already have the money existing and I'm going to pay it off immediately. Because to me, it's free money that I'm getting. Because a lot of these credit card companies, they'll give you cash back. they'll give you travel points and miles and whatever, right? So I know a lot of the people, they kind of get caught up with that. And, even me, like sometimes it's not good. But like Deuce was saying, like if you're a bit of a nerd like me and you're really strategic with, okay, I'm gonna use this credit card because I get 6% cash back or 6% in points. It's hard to get 6% cash back, but towards points, towards travel miles or whatever it is, right? There's plenty of cards that you could go for and say, okay, well, instead of paying cash when I'm gonna go stay at this hotel, if I get a branded card, I'm getting 10% extra on my spend, right? And so these are strategies that you can use, and you can just have to be smart about it, right? Don't, when I was young, of course, I'm like, oh, I got a $5,000 credit card. That's $5,000 I have. No, that's not, right? You have to already have that money in order to be able to use those things, right? And so, just being smarter. Some people don't have the discipline, like you said, so they do need somebody there to be like, hey, I need you to make sure that you can monitor my account, help me, or there's apps that you can build that have an AI help you. There's so many strategies today to help.
Yes, yes. And this is something. Sorry, my timer was going off. I don't know if you heard that as well, but
Yeah.
sorry about that ringing. So the idea of utilizing credit, and we're going to get into it. The thing about consumer finance is if it was all just a robotic on paper situation, it would be completely different. The problem is us as humans, we we don't follow the plan, and we may have every intention of paying the thing off every month, or it's like, oh well, I can go on vacation, I can use the credit card, but then it follows you. And a lot of people don't have the discipline to pay it off every month, and then they end up getting 20% interest on that money. So we will talk about that in later FPU. The goal ultimately is to get from the debt side and having companies. Imagine instead of you um, paying somebody else interest, you're getting the interest because you have money working for you. It's flipping the table around. But moving forward, I just want to say there is a quiz if you don't know if you're the nerd or the free spirit. And basically all I did was I went to I went to the Google free spirit and nerd quiz, Dave Ramsey's nerd and spirit quiz. I'm going to leave a link of this on the show notes, so you'll have this. But basically all you do is you read each one and you check each side, and then once you get to the bottom you put the score in for each, and then this tells you, okay, how much of a nerd, how much of a free spirit am I? And it kind of gives you a fun way. And this is great to do with couples just to kind of see who's doing what. And you can also download it as a PDF and be able to look at it. So I want to just plug the Nerd and Free Spirits quiz. Now, I do want to, I know I went a little bit more at the time, but it's super important. I want to go into two quick things on the budget. Um, Tony, you had talked about apps that can help you do this. Well, Dave Ramsey has an app that his company has created called Every Dollar, and Every Dollar is a great tool. I want to play this quick video for us, and then I want to talk about creating your first budget.
Hey guys, Rachel Cruz here, and I love helping people just like you learn how to budget. Today, I'm excited to show you my favorite budgeting tool, Every Dollar. It's an app designed to help you take control of your money. It's so simple to use, and it will change how you handle your finances for good. We'll cover specifics in other videos, but first, here's a quick look at some of the basic terms and features and how to use them. Every Dollar is built on the concept of zero-based budgeting, where you give every dollar a job to do before the month begins. So your income minus your expenses always equals zero. It's not that complicated, but it does take some time to get used to it if you've never budgeted before, and that's okay. The very first thing in your budget is your income. This is any money you have earned throughout the month from your regular job, side hustle, or even money you get from your garage sale. When you plan out what you spend every month in your Every Dollar budget, then you'll use features like categories, line items, and transactions. Categories are groups of similar expenses for a given month. You'll have categories for housing, transportation, food, and clothing, just to name a few. Line items are where you'll plan for a specific expense. For example, in the housing category, you'll have a line item like rent, utilities, and your cable bill. Transactions are simply money coming in or out. You'll track your paychecks for money coming in and expenses for money going out. These will all go into a specific line item. Once you're ready to set up your first budget in Every Dollar, grab all your numbers from recent bills or bank statements and get started in about 30 minutes. Really, it's that fast and easy. Go to everydollar.com, create your account, and start budgeting today. And you can take your budget with you anywhere you go by downloading the Every Dollar app for iOS and Android.
All right. So that's a quick overview of the Every Dollar app. And there is an upgraded or a newer version that just came out. And so I want to do this quick other video about maximizing your margin. And so let's just get right into that one.
All right, guys, by now you can see the all-new Every Dollar is way more than just a budgeting app. Now it's time to show you how that process works. For starters, Every Dollar is now hyper-personalized because one-size-fits-all money advice isn't great. And if you've listened to The Ramsey Show, you know our common sense principles never change. But how those principles apply might look a little different depending on your situation. It's kind of like the difference between me wearing my dad's suit jacket versus having one tailored to me. You want it to feel like it was made for you. And that's why finding margin with Every Dollar starts with some simple onboarding questions to completely customize your experience in the app. You'll see questions about your top money priorities, your income, your family situation. Every Dollar will even ask you how many minutes you want to spend each day learning how to hit your money goals faster. Only got 5 minutes? We can work with that. Now, this is important. It's not a quiz. There's no right or wrong answers. You don't need to know your exact numbers to the decimal point. Your answers just make sure Every Dollar's advice fits your life, not someone else's. So just give it your best shot. It'll take you less than 15 minutes, and trust me, it's worth every second. Here's why. The better Every Dollar knows you, the more opportunities it can find to maximize your margin. And that's what this is all about. Reminder, margin is that extra money above and beyond your essential expenses that gives you breathing room and helps you get ahead. Maybe you've tried to find margin on your own before, but now Every Dollar saves you the brain calories. It will analyze your situation and build you a custom list of recommendations for creating more margin. And get this, the average user finds 8 recommendations. Then, Every Dollar will show you exactly how much money you could free up if you try all the recommendations on your list. And that money might come from one-time recommendations, like selling something, or ongoing monthly recommendations, like adjusting your tax withholdings or cutting back on eating out. Every Dollar will also show you how those recommendations translate to yearly margin. But like the name implies, all these margin-finding ideas are just recommendations. You're the CFO here, so you get to decide what stays and what goes. You could decide to do none of these and free up $0, or you could decide to do all of them and free up way more. As you go through your recommendations one by one, it'll help you understand why they're a good fit for your money situation. If you like a recommendation, great, tap the commit button. If not, no big deal, hit nope and on to the next. You also have the power to edit recommendations. So if you like the idea, but the dollar amount feels off, you can tweak it on the spot. When you're finished deciding how much cash you want to free up, Every Dollar will calculate the margin you've officially found based on your commitments. So the initial number you saw was the margin that Every Dollar found for you, but the new number based on your commitments is what you're actually saying yes to. And that's money you already have just waiting to be freed up. All you have to do is keep those commitments you made, which we can all agree is kind of the hard part. But we thought of that too. Every dollar will also keep you from falling off the wagon. For starters, the app will have a custom to-do list right there on your dashboard. This list is unique to you based on the recommendations you committed to. And as you start checking off your list and creating margin, you can just tap over to your every dollar budget to make sure that money gets put to good use. You'll also be able to connect your bank account and seamlessly track transactions to keep that margin from disappearing ever again. This step will take you 2 minutes, but it's going to save you so much time in the long run from having to manually enter every single transaction, because life's too short. But that's all just the tip of the iceberg. We've shown you how every dollar helps you change your behaviors and figure out what to do, which is great because we know that personal finance is 80% behavior, but it's also 20% head knowledge. And if you're like most people, you didn't learn about all this money stuff growing up. Nobody taught you until now. With every dollar, you'll get a personalized feed of bite-sized tidbits to help you master money and understand why you're doing what you're doing. The app will only serve you content that actually applies to your situation. And again, you can knock these out in just a few minutes. So as you can see, every dollar is now way more than just a budgeting app. With margin finding recommendations, your personalized plan, and ongoing coaching, the app will help keep you on track and moving forward. And in our 30-year history, we've never seen results like these. Our users are hitting their money goals faster than ever before. So what are you waiting for? Download the app, start your free trial, and see how much money you could free up with the all-new Every Dollar.
All right, excellent. So let me stop my screen sharing because that's what I have for the every dollar, the budgeting part. Now I want to recommend that everybody goes and gets the Every Dollar app from their app store, from the Play Store, or there is an online version under, if you go through your FPU or Financial Peace .com web address, you can easily find that. So there's really no reason not to have a budget. But real quick, let's just talk about how to do this. So here's a couple steps to do. One, figure out all of your income sources. So if you have a regular job, go to your last paycheck and figure out how much your last paycheck was. And if you normally work like a 40-hour week and that has been your average over the past 6 months, use that amount. And then if you get paid once a week, you're going to have 4 income paychecks in every dollar. If you get paid bi-weekly, you have 2. If you get paid once a month, you have 1. Also, if you are irregular income, you could put in anytime that you have a commission, or if you have any other income, you can simply click the add item button and you can add the item. But first, before you start billing out the budget in the Every Dollar app, what I personally find to be helpful is to get just a pad of paper, like a legal pad, and on that legal pad, just start writing all of your normal expenses. So your mortgage or rent, $1,000 a month. Electricity averages about, $200 a month. A quick tip on electricity: see if you can qualify for the equal amount plan with the power company. We did this, and our power bill stays the same throughout the entire year, depending, even with fluctuations. With summertime, we use more power, and other times we don't because of air conditioning. You can get a flat rate that's the same every month. What's your cell phone bill, your insurance payment, any kind of subscriptions, anything that you're spending money on? You're going to want to make a list and write out these things. At first, just do the things that are fixed every month. Do you have Hulu, Amazon Prime, Sling, cable service, internet, power, trash, electricity is power, natural gas? Any of these things that are automatic that you have to pay every month, write those all out. Then you can start to add up all of the miscellaneous. So every time you go to restaurants, make a category, restaurants, and kind of get an idea of what you're spending. What are you spending at the grocery store? What are some of these other areas that you spend your money on? And by making a list, it brings it to your awareness. Now, sometimes, Tony, we have this thing where our expenses are greater than our income. And when that happens, usually we have to go further into debt to cover the negative margin. Well, one way that you can affect that is you can attempt to reduce your expenses, getting you closer or to that goal of your income, or you can produce more income, take on another job, find an opportunity, start a business, sell something. There's a lot of different ways that you can create income. And in another video, we're going to talk about creating income and the income generation side and creating skills. We're going to get to that, but this lesson is all about the budget and all about the, once you have income, the other side, what do you do with it? So Ramsey has something that's called the four walls. And when you do the four walls, basically that is your housing, food, clothing, and transportation. These are the most important things in your life because you need all of them. And so those are the first things that you spend on. And then you cover everything else. Now, I want to get to something that should be in your budget to start with. It's your giving. Giving should be the first thing that you have as evangelicals, as Christians. We believe in tithing, which is a 10% of our income to our local church. Even if you don't go to a local church or you're atheist or agnostic or you don't believe in giving to a church, find a charity, find something that's important to you and give because it unlocks generosity in us and it helps us. Tony, do you have anything to talk about as far as giving in this? Because you've been on the receiving end of other people's giving and being able to do things that are I think spectacular. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, I think ultimately that is one of the best things that we can do is to be able to give and then also to be on the receiving end of it. Um, because, of course, I think the Bible says too, like wherever your treasure lies, like, where you put your heart, that's where you store. And so to be able to give back to individuals has been one of the most enriching experiences for me because you tangibly get to see immediately the impact and where that's going and how it helps people. I mean, my end goal is to live on 20% and give 80% of it away, right? Like, because you have such an exuberant amount, at that point. And so, that I have a very giving heart. And then also, it's definitely nice to be in those situations and know that you need something, right? Because you're raising money for, a cause or certain things, right? And to be able to see that the fruits of your labor really and allow other people because they have better management habits, they have better, understanding of their finances and doing a lot of these things, they can then be able to give more. And I think ultimately that's what we're called to do as, as creatures is to not just hoard everything for ourselves and, to give that back to the next generation or the people around us.
I completely agree. And so I want to encourage everybody carve off 10% as soon as you get it. As soon as you deposit your check into the bank or if it's on auto deposit, if you're part of a church, go to their website and just give. Boom. Just do it. Or when you're at the bank, withdraw 10%, have the cash. Because here's the thing that most people don't understand about credit cards and debit cards. is when I use my debit card to pay for something, the person who's accepting the payment is paying a fee for the service of using a credit card or a debit card. So you may think you're giving 10% to that organization and they're getting it all. They're getting most, but now they're having to pay a fee. So if at all possible, give cash, give a check. I mean, a lot of us don't. I don't have a checking account or a checkbook. I don't write checks, but I know that electronic, payments are fast and easy. And but the thing about it is, if you want to maximize your effect on the organization, give a cash donation first. Or if worst case scenario you can't, still give with the credit card or debit card, excuse me, not a credit card. Don't use your credit card for giving. Don't go into debt to give. Use your debit card that you have cash on hand. You do not want to go into debt even if it's for something good. And just a side note, there are some ministries that are not of God. And these televangelist types will say, oh, if you just give a gift of X, God's going to bless you. And don't worry, just put it on your credit card. Just give our ministry this. And the reality is, nowhere in the Bible does it say we are to go into debt to give or to sacrifice to God. Nowhere. So don't let them deceive you. Don't give them don't give out of your poverty, because in Proverbs it talks about there's wisdom, and don't just, if you don't have the money, don't do it. Please. I want to emphasize that. And the last thing you want is to feel like, hey, I gave God, now God owes me. Let's just make it clear. Jesus has saved me. He has already given me well and beyond anything that I could do or say for him. He's already way done more for me. My giving is an expression of my heart, my love, and my worship. Give first, and then if there's other things that you want to do an offering above the 10%, that's just extra. That's if, hey, I want to give more, or there's a special cause, or hey, Thanksgiving is coming up in a month. I want to feed a family. That's an offering. There's a guy at the 7-Eleven and he needs, he's asking for $5 to get something to eat. That's an offering. Yes, if your heart is led, but put it into your budget. So that's the first. So 10% for giving at minimum. Offerings are optional and they're above your usual tithe. Then you got to figure out, I think kind of the order is, you've got your housing. What is your rent? What are any kind of insurances that you have, that, like, if you have renter's insurance, if you've got anything that has to do with your home, electricity, cable, or internet. For me, it's internet. We have streaming services, but anything that has to do with your household, plug those in first. Then you've got to figure out transportation, especially if you've got to get to work. What's your car payment? What's your insurance? What's your gas? Think about those things. Put those in your budget. Then the next step is food. You got to eat. But here's the thing. There's a difference between going to the grocery store and buying food and preparing your own food and eating at home, and eating out all the time. Yes, it's convenient to eat out all the time, but you're paying for that convenience in an extra expense. One of the things me and Tony are going to put together is using AI to figure out shopping and how to create a food plan. And here's the thing. I'm not saying that you don't ever go out and eat, but imagine this. Starbucks coffee, it's no longer $5 a cup. It's like $8. It was crazy. Me and my wife went and she got her large frappuccino caramel 8,000 calorie thing was like $8. And I used to think a $5 coffee was expensive. Imagine if instead of going to Starbucks every day, you bought a fancy coffee machine and you were able to do this at home for a third of the cost over time. That is one way that you can cut out expenses. But then also like this idea of packing a lunch to go to work, it works because if you don't pack a lunch, well, oh, McDonald's is right there, or hey, I'm going to go to the restaurant, and it can eat away your budget very, very quickly. So I'm not suggesting that you never eat out, but that you plan on eating out for places. Imagine if you have like a restaurant that you really like. Like I love Mexican food. And the other day, me and my son went to, I think it was called Riva's taco place, and I got it was a carne asada wet burrito. My son got a chicken quesadilla, no drinks, no salsa rice beans, no extras, nothing. Just those two things was $38. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a lot to me. That's like a $38 meal for two people. I couldn't do that all the time. Like that meal, you could have made it at home for less than $20 and had leftovers. But sometimes you just got to go and you got to enjoy it. So I'm not saying don't do those things, but be wise. And then the last area is clothing. We've got to wear clothes, but in a lot of us, we have a closet full of clothes and we don't necessarily need more. Now, I understand some ladies might say, "Well, hey, Deuce, I got a shoe budget. I got a purse budget. I got to have makeup and this and that." And you go, "All right, I get it, but that's an area where you can figure out how much you're going to spend. Once you have your four walls, then you can start adding all the other stuff, the niceties of life, the streaming services, the food box services, the meal prep. If you pay someone to, there's people that will prepare meals for you, and all you have to do is microwave them. That's like extra stuff. Maybe it's you have some cleaning lady come clean your house, or if you've got a pool guy, or you've got mechanic to change the oil in your car. Any of these extra things would come after your four walls, and basically, as you add them to your budget, your income number plus your expenses, they'll slowly get to the point where you've used all your income and all your expenses, and then you hit zero. At that point, you've run out of income. You can't do anything else. Anything other than that, you have to adjust or you have to not have. So if one of your categories is Starbucks and you're spending $200 a month on Starbucks and you're negative 180 in your budget, well, you might cut back on your Starbucks, or you might cut back on your food, and every dollar can help you do this. The number that is left over. So let's say, Tony, you've got $500 left over at the end of the month. You've got all your income, you've got all your expenses, but then you've got this $500 margin on the side. Zero-based budgeting doesn't mean, "Ooh, I got $500. I'm going to go to the Golden Steer Steakhouse and, have one fancy dinner." No, it's you can now take that money and you can guide it to where you want. So let's say you pay for your auto insurance every 6 months, and that's a big chunk of money. For me, our insurance was for 6 months, it was like $3,000. It was insane. But we paid it all up front because it gave us a discount. But now every month we put a little bit in what's called a sinking fund, so that 6 months from now we're able to pay in full, saving money on the overall expense. This can be for other things. You mentioned earlier the idea of a person having to move and they have a deposit and they have months of rent and they have other. Well, you can plan, hey, my lease is up in 12 months. Maybe I'm going to want to move. So you start putting money away from that margin. Does that make sense? Okay, excellent. So that is essentially budgeting. And remember, your first baby step, your goal is to take $1,000 and to put it into, in my opinion, the best place to put your money. And let me put this up. There was there's a way that you can get. I was getting 5% from a high yield savings account. Let me see. I forget the name of the company, but I have the app Laurel Road. So if you go Laurel Road and then you get past all of the ads and the sponsored, let me see if I can find. I saw it up here in sponsored, but okay. So Laurel Road has a high yield savings account. Let's see what they're. So it's currently at 3.5%. But here's the thing: a high yield savings account is going to get you more than what most banks give you. So my bank, I bank at Wells Fargo for my normal banking. It gives like 0.2% interest on savings. It's like crazy small. At one point, my Laurel Road account was paying 5% interest, and it slowly goes down, and it can fluctuate. But take a look at different high yield savings accounts and then figure out how much can I put towards my emergency fund to where I have $1,000. Now, if you have $1,000 that you can fund it immediately, do that. As soon as you can, feed your emergency fund, at least the baby starter emergency fund, get $1,000 in it. And here's the thing about the high yield savings account is it doesn't come with a debit card to where you can just swipe it, swipe it, swipe it. You can't use it for online shopping. You can't use it for pay your mortgage. You can get a withdrawal from it to your bank account, but there's usually a waiting period of a day or two. The benefit of this is it will prevent you from having spur of the moment. Tony, I don't know about you, but there's a lot of these like online courses. We went to the Alex Hormozy show or the event, and he was like, just buy this thing. It's only $6,000. And you might go, ooh, I want that. Well, if you have to wait 1 or 2 days to be able to pay for it, your emotions might cool down and you might go, you know what? Maybe we should wait until I have the money. But that's the benefit of putting your money in a high yield savings account, and the interest just keeps growing and growing. And usually, if you have an emergency, you can get the money fast enough. So I highly recommend that. And then moving forward, once you have your $1,000 saved, we get into baby step 2. This is where we're going to pay off debt, and we're going to get to a place where you don't have any owing anybody anything. I'm telling you, if anyone has ever had a bill collector call them and you get the phone calls, they just don't stop. When you're in a negative place financially, it is not peaceful, right? And anyone like me, and I've had a car repossessed. I've had student loans in default. I've had credit cards that I owed, and it was not peaceful. Luckily, using the Ramsey plan, I have worked my way out of debt, and I currently have no debt. I own my car. We do still have our mortgage and we're paying that off, but all of our consumer debt is gone. I have no credit cards. I have none of these things that are tempting me. and I owe nobody anything, which to me is incredible, and it is peaceful because, my phone isn't ringing off the hook now. So, Tony, I want to. I know we went a little bit more on this than I anticipated, but I think that we had a powerful discussion. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about, or if you had any other questions, maybe I didn't cover in the save $1,000 and the budget tool?
Oh, I think it's been great. We'll definitely look forward to some future sessions and being able to show off some cool tools people can use, like you said, like the meal planning and budget app. So yeah, definitely look forward to the future sessions. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Tony. And every week we're going to review and cover each lesson and that we're going into, and it's going to be powerful. If you have not signed up for Financial Peace University, the class that I personally am hosting is Saturdays, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You still have time. You can still join, and it's online. We do it via Zoom. So regardless of where you are, you can come. There is a Financial Peace University is $100 membership. It is for 1 full year. You can take the class as many times as you want, either in person or virtually. There's a lot of features that it comes with, and you can go to financialpeace.com to review that. I highly recommend it. If you are interested in getting a membership, contact me directly. We do have sponsorships and we do have packages available with the Eagles Wing Academy for the purpose of finances that will save you some money, and that will also include some coaching sessions. But talk to me if that's something that you're interested in doing. If you simply want to purchase Financial Peace University, you can purchase it directly through the Ramsey people. Um, but if you want to support the ministry, you want to support the nonprofit, please come to us as we grow this thing. Your generous donations and your purchasing any of our programs directly funds our ability to do more. So I want to thank you for that. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave comments below. You can always email me at jasondeucebrandt@gmail.com. Any questions that you have, anything that you would like to, you like me to bring up in future videos, or even just if you have a testimony, I love to hear from you. I love to expand. So with that, I want to say thank you all for watching, and I look forward to the next video. Tony, thank you for joining me. And for everyone, I'm praying for your skillful and godly wisdom. Have a great day.